Yeah, because I mean, it had to be that they're teachers. They know how to, teach you how to learn.
For
and
sure.
You learned how to learn probably at a young age.
I did. Yeah, my dad's an English teacher, so grammar was grilled into me as a young child.
Awesome. And did you go to college?
I did. Yes, I went to Indiana University for my undergrad, and then got half of a master's from Indiana University, and I'm actually finishing it up starting next semester.
Now, I read, like me, you got the ADHD. Did you know that at a young age?
No.
Or older? What
no,
was that?
I found out like a couple months ago. Mostly because it presents so differently in women, especially adult women, than it does in children. And it's so easy to diagnose in like very hyper young boys. But in young girls, it's perfectionism and hyper focus. And so it doesn't look at all like ADD. And then as I got older, it really started to come out when there was no like parental figure, creating structure for me. And it's just been a downhill struggle since then. And then I was diagnosed about 2 months ago.
Yeah, isn't that fascinating? I found out 6 years ago, and I was put in I knew there was something wrong with me. Just didn't know what it was. I just thought, I'm just a little crazy. But, because back then they didn't have any of the medication. Right. And I was put in a special school at UCLA, and I was there for 6 months, and then they said, let's just put them back in the system, and we'll just do the best we can, and just fumbled around, but you all that hyperness and everything, you're like, well, I'm just a good multitasker, or something.
Yeah, so it's really hard.
It's a trip when you find out.
Yeah, and I've actually been taking a pretty deep dive recently into like talking to a therapist and things, and like dealing with some things. And I was also diagnosed with Asperger's, which was not surprising at all, but explained so many things. And yeah, so it's super interesting. Like, there's a diagnosis for everything now, and there's medication for everything, but sometimes just putting a name to something, not even if, you don't even have to medicate or anything, but just putting a name to it and understanding like, these are my tendencies, but they don't have to be like, I can learn to live inside this weird box, has actually been really helpful.
I concur with that 100%. It's like, you don't want to give it too much more power than it needs to be, but being cognizant of it, and, hey, you know what? If you look at it like Albert Einstein and Michael Jordan and all these other guys, if you want to believe some shit, might as well believe some of the good stuff of that too, right? Yeah. Use that hyper focus to advantage and all that. So why not? For
sure. Yeah. It's been a weird couple of years.
So you found out later on, but now when you graduated college, what did you take in college?
So I actually came to IU for the Jacob School of Music. So I was a musician, and my sophomore year of undergrad, I injured my hand, and it was and there were some other things that factored into it. Being a musician is hard, especially a classical musician, especially a violinist. You're probably not going to have a spot available to you to even apply for, much less like actually get. It's really hard. And so, yeah, I was like, well, I mean, I have 3 weeks to pick a new major. So eeny, meeny, miny, mo, basically. And there was an arts management degree program that was basically nonprofit management with an arts minor. And I was like, great, get to transfer some classes. And so that's literally how I decided what I wanted to do with my life. If that's not ADD, I don't know what is.
Yeah, right. Well, that makes sense. I mean, and it seems practical because like how many Yo-Yo Ma's and Itzhak Perlmans are there out there in the world that are like, blowing up with the violin?
Yeah.
Did you really, really want to do it, or you just said, you know what, I love it. I love it. Was it just, wasn't that...
Yeah, I never wanted to be a soloist, and I was not good enough. So I would not have been, traveling and living the high life. I would have been grinding it out day in and day out for 30 years. And while, I loved it enough to be able to want to do that. But I had lots of stress injuries and things. A lot of people don't think about, you see professional athletes using their bodies 8 hours a day and grinding it out and having these injuries. But imagine doing that with your 8 fingers day in and day out. And so it was really, really painful. And so I just decided to call it. Yeah.
So you switch gears.
I did.
Okay. You graduate college. Mm-hmm. What do you get into after that?
I went straight into a master's program. for public finance of all things. And I meant to go for nonprofit management. And my very first class, 8 a.m., Monday morning, first day of grad school, was public finance with this really, really old professor who had helped like rebuild the Ukraine's monetary system after the fall of the USSR. He was like this grumpy old man, and I loved it. I don't know why, but I loved that class. And I instantly changed my concentration to public finance, like right after that class.
So how does one, like, what was it about nonprofit that really got you involved? Was it just, contribution aspect, or what was it?
That's a great question. I think I had just been around them for so long. I was a musician. I also did ballet for years. And so I was just around them all the time. And then I had a rough time as a teenager. I was homeless for a period of time. I had a